Hello, everyone. Welcome to Logic Apps Live August 2023. So I'm here with Alex Zúñiga and Divya Swarnkar from our product team. And we're going to start the show with some announcements and then some other stuff that we're going to be showing you. So like very quickly for the agenda, we're going to be talking today about some public preview announcements. So Divya is going to be talking about the X12 and EDIFACT connectors and integration account premium that is just being out of the oven. I'm going to be talking a bit about the Logic Apps standard RBAC roles. Alex put together a list of all the data map pattern series that we've been creating. So show you where to find all of those in one place with contributions from Kent and Sandro. And then I'm going to be talking a little bit about Logic Apps standard in-depth containers. Recently, we got one of our friends from the customer success engineers getting a dev container that is working really well, and we're going to show how we can leverage that. And as always, send your questions, and we try to answer as many questions as possible during the show. So Divya, all yours. I can move the slides.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Wagner. So yeah, I'm excited to share some of the new capabilities that we have released and announced just very recently. In fact, earlier this week. This had been something that a lot of customers have been asking us for. So we are really excited to finally have these capabilities reached out to all the customers. As well as just before I go into the details of this is the first round of this release. So basically our goal is that as you run your B2B and EDI workloads on Logic App Standard, we want to provide you all the capabilities to run these workloads at scale and in a secure manner. And so in that regard, we will be releasing a lot of other capabilities in incrementally in future as well in the rest of this year. So to begin with, what we have released is a built-in version of both X12 and EDIFACT connectors. So with these two actions, you would be able to decode and encode payloads using X12 or EDIFACT standards. The second big announcement we have is on integration account. Today we have a basic and standard SKU of integration account, and we have announced a premium SKU of integration account, which brings in a lot more value, a lot more capabilities to what we had in standard. And then the third item here is of more interest to customers who are using integration service environment today, which is on the deprecation path. So with the announcement of the new integration account SKU, we are also providing the support to migrate to export your artifacts as well as state from your integration account that's linked to ICE environment to integration account premium. So let's get into the next slide and talk about these in a little bit more detail. All right, so to begin with, the first thing that we've released is X12 and EDIFACT built-in actions. And in one of the previous Logic App live sessions, I had talked about the benefits and how built-in actions run in terms of on Logic App standard. So just to quickly reiterate that, built-in actions run within the same runtime, within the same process as Logic Apps engine. And that automatically brings in a lot of benefits in terms of the performance, because because of the close proximity, because of the lack of the need to do any calls over the internet. So you naturally get better performance, better throughput with built-in actions. Because it is running all on your compute, it's single tenant, so you're not running those workloads in a shared environment with other customers. Built-in actions also run on Logic App standard. So if your Logic App standard is integrated with VNet, You do not have to take any additional steps to basically get VNet support. So in this case, when you use a built-in X12 or EDIFACT action, all of your processing happens on the compute that you're hosting on, which is your compute. And if your logic app is connected to the VNet, all these actions are also running within that VNet. There are no network calls or no data that goes outside the VNet. And as I was mentioning, that because this is all your compute and you have more control here, we are also able to provide the support of much larger payloads. And for now, we have tested both X12 and EDIFACT with 100 MB. So we can confirm that you can use 100 MBs with these actions. But moving forward, as we are able to test more, we will be releasing more numbers in terms of how far you can go with that. Again, like from our side, from platform point of view, we do not put any restrictions on the payload size here. So we expect that you will be able to process much larger payloads in future after we confirm testing from our side. Next slide, please, Wagner. All right. So on the integration account, before I go into the capabilities, I quickly want to share with you all how does the new integration accounts queue works, where each of the components are hosted. So on the right, you're seeing a diagram. This is basically an extension of something that I had shared before on how built-in actions run, right? So the top rectangle that you see, that's where all your built-in actions run. Again, everything is within the scope of the VNet on your compute. So your logic app uses the storage. When you create a logic app standard, it uses the storage, and it's hosted on app service plan or ASV3. In all these cases, it's all within the VNet, it's all on your compute. And when you have a built-in action, it runs alongside the logic apps. So likewise, when you have X12 and EDIFACT built-in action, it's running within on the side besides your logic app. So your the VNet requirement that a lot of customers had in terms of processing, in terms of X12 and EDIFACT processing, that is met by through the built-in actions. Now coming to the integration account itself. So your integration account you would create and host in Azure, but when you create the integration account, you would be bringing your own storage, and you have full control on where you host that storage. So it could be within the same VNet, or it can be hosted in Azure based on your needs. But once again, if you look at this diagram, all the processing that uses the artifacts in integration account happens on your compute in your VNet. All the artifacts are stored in the storage that again can be stored in the VNet. So pretty much everything that you own as a customer is now running inside the VNet. What you still have in Azure is the integration account resource itself. So when your logic app is running your X12 or EDIFACT built-in actions, the only thing that happens in terms of going out to the internet is the calls, the data plane calls to retrieve the artifacts that are inside the VNet. And we do have plans to even bring integration account resource completely inside the VNet. That is something that we'll be releasing soon. But for now, all the data and the processing is already in the VNet. Now coming to the capabilities, with the integration account premium SKU, what you get is that there will be no limits on the artifacts. With basic and standard, we did have some limits in how many artifacts it could support, but here we do not enforce any limits. So you could basically leverage your integration account for any number of artifacts based on your business needs. As I mentioned, you do bring your own storage for the artifacts, and since you own the storage, you have all the control and flexibility on where you want to host the storage. Some customers also had the need to use their own managed keys to encrypt the data. You could do that with the storage. So all the policies around security compliance can be applied now by the customer because you have the storage. As I was explaining before, because you own the storage, all the artifacts are now, you can now store all the artifacts in the VNet if that's your need. Lastly, if you are using certificates for data encryption, decryption, in that case, today when you do that, you need to provide access to the service principal for logic apps to access the key vault where your private keys are stored. With the new SKU of integration account, we are going to go with managed identity. So you would be able to use the managed identity of integration account to access the artifacts that you have in the key vault. So again, a better security, better story here in terms of how you manage and store your certificates. Next slide, please. All right. So as I was mentioning that this is something that we have recently launched, but this is just the beginning. We are actively working on bringing in more capabilities, both for integration account as well as for the built-in actions. Some of the ones which will be released first would includes VNet support for the integration account, as well as export capabilities for assemblies and Rosetta Net as well. So today the export is not including these two things. And then we have for X12 and EDIFACT actions, we will be supporting the batched messages as well as the telemetry required for EDI tracking. Wagner, did we miss a slide here on the export? Okay, probably not. I guess I'll maybe quickly show what that looks like. All right, so I very quickly want to talk about one of the capabilities we are adding for the integration account. So as I was mentioning before that for ICE customers, you would be able to export your artifacts from standard integration account to premium. So this is what it looks like. If you go to your integration account in ICE, you would see an option to do the export. And here there are basically two options. You can export the artifacts or you export the agreement state. So export artifact basically exports all the artifacts that you have in your integration account, things like schemas, maps, certificates, partners, agreements. However, in case of agreements, there is also a runtime state that is being persisted. For example, for ACE2, that is MIC number. For X12, that is control numbers. And this state gets updated every time you are processing your EDI transactions that map to those agreements. So the way we see customers doing this migration is that you would export your artifacts, and then as you are ready to move that workload to the to standard logic apps to new integration account, you want to make sure that you have the most latest state of the agreements before you actually do the flip over. And so that's where export agreement state would come into picture, where you would do the export agreement state and you would select your target integration account. I think we have something going on right now, but yeah, you would select the target integration account, and either you could do this in bulk for all the agreements, or you can select a specific agreement that you want to transfer the state for and do that. So hopefully this would help accelerate the migration and do it in a phased manner, as in when you're ready to move your workloads from ICE to standard. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
All right. So let me now start sharing my screen. And let's talk a little bit about the new RBAC roles for Azure Logic Apps Standard, right? So we created, I think it's similar to what Divya was talking before around a number of items that people is always been asking, like from RBAC point of view, people is asking a more granular set of Logic Apps Standard RBAC roles, right? And then we just created 4 new roles in public preview, and that's like a Logic Apps Standard reader, a Logic Apps Standard operator, a developer, and a contributor. And just to give an idea of how each one of those work, you see, like when you're talking about the reader, it allows you to read workflows, read runs, and read site configurations, but it's pretty much a read only. You're not able to do any changes, right? If you're an operator, you get some other items. You're able to resubmit some runs. You're able to start and stop the site, just to do like that level 2 kind of things that operators would be able to do, but you're not able to do anything else with that. Developers has a lot of a lot more control on that, right? So it'd be able to do a whole lot of changes there, but is not going to be able to start sites. And I think I have my table here with one thing wrong, and that's exactly why we have this Logic Apps Standard RBAC. Just let me open the I think I got one item wrong. Just let me double check. Yeah, like the developer would be able to make all changes related to workflows, but wouldn't be able to do extra configuration. Was a copy and paste from my part. Okay, so wouldn't be able to do this extra. And then the contributor would have like full access to this. While we're here, let's take a look at like how you would be able to update this. Like what would happen if you wanted to go and create one of those rows. It's just like any other row on Logic Apps, right? So or on Azure in general. So if I go to any one of my Logic Apps standard and I'm looking for access control, if I wanted to add a new row, you're going to find now all those 4 Logic Apps standard rows. And then from there, you can select the row, you can select the people that is that is going to have access to that, just like any other RBAC, right? If you wanted to know more about that, as I show, go to this aka.ms/LA standard/RBAC, and you can find all the information there. Let me bring Alex to the stream to talk a little bit about Data Mapper.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm here to chat with you guys a bit about Data Mapper and some of the patterns that have been put out onto Tech Community and Sandra's blog. So for those of you that don't know, Data Mapper is our new visual data transformation tool that came out recently for public preview. And it is available now in VS Code as an extension. So feel free to go ahead and download that and test it out. And for those of you that are new to creating mappings, with anything like that, this is a great opportunity to test that. So with our extension, you can create mappings with XML or JSON between your source and target schemas and generate an XSLT file that could be used in any Azure Logic app, including our data transformation action within Logic Apps that is tied to Data Mapper. And so obviously data mapping is not necessarily everyone's forte. So for those of you who are new to Data Mapper itself and or its concepts, our other Aviator co-host Kent and Aviator's own Sandro have created various data mapper patterns and guides with videos and pictures to help you guys get started. So the series link for that, where you can find the collective of everything available that has been put out so far, is aka.ms/datamapper-patterns. And so right now, currently the content that we have available, one of the posts that we have out is on conditional mapping. So for those of you unsure how to use if and if else functions and how to kind of go about conditionals within mapping data for our new extension, Kent's got something out on that, as well as regular expressions. So for those of you needing to find and replace a string using regular expressions, we've got some fantastic opportunities with our new functions in there with that post, as well as some distinct values. So finding a particular value within an array. That's the example used here. And so if you're looking for something of that, it's a great opportunity with that post, as well as another one, a general kind of post with aggregation patterns. If you're needing to combine, for example, information from multiple messages and map it into a single request, this is a fantastic post for you. Like I said, all these posts have pictures and videos to kind of go along and help you out. And on top of that, Sandro has put together multiple posts that go into length and detail on the various functions within date and time, utility, and math. And this includes items such as equal date or, kind of getting some sort of month from a date. So if you're looking for how to use these functions within your mapping, it's a great opportunity with that, such as, formatting, your math, of course. We've various opportunities with how to use the numbers, such as, we have, I think, tangent and subtract. There's a lot of complex functions in there. So if you're needing some sort of explanation or kind of clarification and you're looking for some way to get started, these guides are a great way for you to get going with that. We will be putting out more, of course, as Kent and Sandro and I will start writing up some more. And so keep your eyes peeled for that. And that link should stay updated with all of the various patterns that are available. And just in terms of outside of public preview announcement, just keep your eyes peeled for some more updates to Data Mapper that will be coming soon. We have some exciting stuff that are coming out, so definitely start getting practice now with all of our patterns that are out, because once the new stuff is out, it'll be a really exciting new tool update.
Thanks, Alex. Let's go to the next topic for today, which is using Logic Apps Standard with the dev containers, right? So for people that is not familiar with the concept of dev containers, this is the idea of having a container with all your Visual Studio Code configuration and all the tools that you needed to run either to develop or debug one session, that allow you to like replicate that in multiple places and make it easier for you to set up your environment. What you needed for that is basically Docker installed and the dev container extension installed, right? And when you run in a Logic Apps extension, in this case for the dev container, you're going to need a definition, a specific for Logic Apps, and a Docker file that has the tools required. Just to give a bit more context on that, how these dev containers work is in your local machine, you have VS Code running the theme and the UI extensions, like all the basic stuff that makes Logic Apps to tick. Then, not yet. Then through expose port to the container, we're going to have like the actual workspace extensions, like all the extensions that you run there, right? And this VS Code server inside the container is going to be accessing the file system. It's going to access your source code because it's mounted from the local into the container. And it's going to be, you'll be able to do anything like running applications, debugging, or access the terminal on that, right? So let's take a look at how that would be useful for Logic Apps. And I'll find here my machine. Hopefully that machine is going to be loading. So I was having this trouble before. Just see if it's a wake up, otherwise I'm going to have to restart it again. No. So bear in mind with me for 1 second while I get that machine running again, and we come back. There we go, it's loading. Nothing like doing stuff live. In the meantime, if you guys wanted to know a little bit more about the containers, the dev containers, you can take a look at this. Putting that on the post in a minute. All right, so seems like we're back. And what I have here is the Visual Studio Code. And you can see, like, I only have my dev container installed, right? So there is nothing else installed on this machine. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be open a new project. And this new project, what is going to be doing as soon as it starts is starting a dev container that has that. And let me explain how that magic happens. Like inside this project, on top of my normal Logic Apps installation, I have a .dev container folder that contains a dev container.json. And here is where I have all the configuration on how that dev container is going to work, right? With all the features that I required, and all the extensions that is needed for that to run. And I have a Docker file that is basically the image that I'm going to be using for that. Okay, and in my case, the image that I'm going to be using is this .NET Core 6 for Azure Functions that basically contains all the information that I need. Once that happens, what you're going to find now is that locally installed, I only had the dev container, but inside the container, I have all of those extensions that is being styled because it what we define inside the VS Code extension. So installed all of those extensions and also all the dependencies that they had, right? You can see that we connected to that because we have like a couple of ports that being forwarded that is connected between us and this dev container. And now for me to run this, I just needed to go and work like I would be working normally with Logic Apps Standard, right? So I can go and open that on Designer. And it's going to be open, right? I have like a super complex Logic Apps where it just returns a hello world. And now if I wanted to go and test this, I needed to start Azure Write like you would be doing normally. And if I do like start debugging, this is going to be starting the the logic apps just like a normal logic app. Just do the normal host start. And then I just wanted to make sure that I started all the blob services. I didn't start all the blob services. Sorry. I need more space here. See, table service was not started. So let me try to start it again. There we go. So not a fault of the dev container. It was actually a fault of your operator, right? If you go back and do like the overview of this workflow, we're going to be seeing all the things. We can run a trigger and it's being executed, right? If you open the thing here, we can see that it's being executed with the response hello world. So all of that is working. You should be able to use built-in connectors. You should be able to use the managed connectors as long as this your configuration allow things to go outside to the internet, right? And that is like a really nice way to share your code or to share the configuration between here and other environments. So back to this. This is like probably all that we have for today. This is a short one. See if we have any questions from the team, and let me bring back Alex and Divya. I think so far we only have one question. Not sure if it's if you have any other questions, please add to the chat. And I have a question here from Ujwal. There is actually two questions. One is, there are any dev test plans for ASCV3 for demos and etc. And as far as I understand, we don't have any demo or test plans for ASCV3. Do you know anything if that's on the roadmap, Divya? I think you're on mute. Oh, there we go.
I want to clarify, like, we do have capabilities planned that would help with the development and testing. And I think, Wagner, you are driving a bunch of them.
Yeah, so we would be able to. We're doing a lot of work on local development, but I think what's which we're always looking here is like a cheaper plan for dev test on the ASCV3 or AWS plans, right? But I don't think we have that available yet. Yeah, we needed to double check if that's on roadmap, especially with the ASCV3 team. So Ujwal, if you connect us offline, maybe either on Twitter or via email, we can try to find that a little bit more. And some quick start templates or reference architecture for logic apps on Kubernetes. I think we have one blog post around the logic apps with Arc, but that is still in preview, right? We improving on that. So again, I'll probably try to find that offline and share with you, but nothing up to date because it's something from from our preview with Arc. So let's see if there is any other questions. Doesn't seem like there is any other questions today. So I think that's all for today. As we said in the beginning, it was probably a quick show, but hopefully you're going to take something from that dev container. And just before we go, I put some resources here for the to work with those dev containers, right? One is talking about the containers itself. The other one is that sample that I show you is from a repository from Michael Collier, which is one of our friends on the customer the customer engineering, right? Michael is a well-known, is a public speaker and been working with us before. So big shout out for him to put all that together and to work, although it was my fault that it was not working as smoothly as possible. On his repo, everything is there ready for you to go and test and get that set up locally. So take a look if you're interested on dev container and get feedback to us and to Michael on that one. I'm going to put that link on the chat as well while we're leaving. And I think that's all for today. Thanks, everyone.